based on research that I conducted, we couldn't find anything about the Buffalo Soldiers, whether infantry or cav, in the history books. It wasn't printed in school. They didn't have anything about it in the Sergeant Major Academy. The way I found out, I just happened to have a research paper that I had to do, and they wanted 15 pages, and I was wanting to try to do the research about something that I was interested in.
While doing a research paper at the United States Army Sergeants Major Academy in Fort Bliss, Texas, Grady Snell discovered a dusty book in the library that contained history about blacks in the military. As he thumbed through the pages, he learned about the Buffalo Soldiers.
So what I did was went to the library and was looking through the different sections of the library, and I discovered a dusty, kind of dark back book was sitting on the shelf, so I pulled it down, and the title of it was Blacks in the Military. So I decided, after reviewing it, scanning through it, that I wanted to do my research paper on it. And once I got deeply involved in my research paper and reading through the book, I discovered the Buffalo Soldiers and what they had done, and their accomplishments and sacrifices was just as equal to the white soldier, and in some cases was better. A lot of ways they was outperforming their white counterpart, but they wasn't getting any recognition for it. So it became a mission of mine personally to try in any way I can to ensure that these Buffalo Soldiers receive the recognition that they deserve, and especially the infantry. Because once I started reading, everything favored the 10th Cavalry, 10th Cavalry, 10th Cavalry. The 9th would receive a little bit, but the 24th and the 25th, they was receiving 0. But in actuality, based on the research, there was a lot of things they was doing that was heroic, but they wasn't getting any recognition for it.
I have been riding motorcycles for a long time. And in 1999, I went to the, what they call it, Black National Roundup in Greenville, South Carolina. And I knew folks that were riding motorcycles for a while. And I noticed the Buffalo Soldiers motorcycle club patch on a few people's back. Now, I have been on the back scene for a while, but that's the first time I noticed the Buffalo Soldiers. And a friend of mine, Carl Road Dog Lowry, he was the founder of the Florida Buffalo Soldiers chapter, was wearing Florida chapter colors. So I talked to him and asked him about how do I become a Buffalo Soldier, because the Buffalo Soldier was near and dear to what I was doing. I was a career Army soldier at the time, and seeing the Buffalo Soldier, I felt like that related more to me, especially since I was riding motorcycles. So after talking to him, he gave me some information on how to become a Buffalo Soldier. I petitioned the National Association becoming a Buffalo Soldier, starting a chapter here in Georgia. That was approved. So in November 1999, I started the Buffalo Soldier Motorcycle Club Georgia. And being that I was stationed in Atlanta, I was covering the Atlanta metropolitan area. That club soon grew to over 40 members.
Once I retired out of the United States Army, I still had the vision of honoring the Buffalo Soldiers for their accomplishments and for what they had achieved, and especially with a main focus on the infantry Buffalo Soldier. So I started looking for organizations. So I had heard of the Buffalo Soldier. So I started riding and trying to make contact with the Buffalo Soldiers. I started looking for the Buffalo Soldiers in August of 2005. Of everybody I talked to, they said, you need to see the Renegade.
I understood he had been looking for me but I was on the road. I was moving here and there, going to a lot of events. And he caught up with me in South Carolina, and he told me about starting a chapter down here in Columbus. And I told him at that time that I would like for him to ride with our chapter in the Atlanta metropolitan area for a couple years before we put a chapter down here in Columbus. He stood the test. He rode his miles. And a couple years after that, we put the Columbus Buffalo Soldier Motorcycle Club here in Columbus. HD was the founder. And like he mentioned earlier, he had a hammer-down leadership style. A lot of folks couldn't deal with that. When you're talking about a grunt first sergeant that put time in the trenches, he knew it one way, get the job done. And the job was not getting done because you had folks that didn't want to do it. But he had a vision, and that vision was to erect the infantry 24th and 25th Infantry Monument. So he went off and started his other club, the Buffalo Soldier Motorcycle Club Global.
So then I started to move through, still following my vision to recognize the Infantry Buffalo Soldier. 2012, I founded the Global Association of the Buffalo Soldier Recognition and Ryan Club. And at this time, they had the Infantry Museum was up and running. And they later on established the Walk of Honor. Once they established the Walk of Honor, I found out that they was allowing people to erect monuments in honor of the units. So in May 2015, I presented the idea to the organization about erecting a monument in honor of the Buffalo Soldiers Infantry Regiment, which consisted of the 24th and the 25th Infantry.
When meeting, Mr. Nail said he had Grady said he had a vision, and the vision were to erect a monument on the Walk of Honor at the National Infantry Museum in commemoration of the Infantry Buffalo Soldier. Of course, I'm all in. And he says it's going to be challenging. It's not going to be easy. Sometimes you're going to want to quit. Some people may quit. And that's, in fact, they did. We did have some fall by the wayside.
So along the way, we lost 4 or 5 soldiers because they couldn't stand up under the hammer-down leadership. So they fell by the wayside. But the ones that was remaining, the 5, we kept pushing forward. A lot of sacrificing, a lot of dedication, blood was shedded, tears were shedded sometimes, but we put all that in to make sure that the Infantry Buffalo Soldier was recognized and would not be left behind.
Because this is something that, in the old saying, go with, not we're working for it, not we're having. It's not going to always be pleasing, but it's something that we need to do to honor the African American soldier infantry that have served and paved the way for us. And as I moved on down the line, I learned that they had the worst equipment, worst horses, wouldn't serve the best of the food, but whatever they did, whatever equipment or horses or whatever they did, they would take that and make the best of it. And I say that paved the way for us, African Americans, to be in the United States Armed Forces today. Because if they had failed, we probably would not have had the opportunity to go into the United States Armed Forces. So the next day he came up and said, we're gonna do fundraisers. At the next meeting, we're gonna establish a fundraising, how we gonna do it, and where we gonna do it, and gotta get approval to do it. So we started off doing fundraisers at Walmarts, through Phoenix City, Columbus, and wherever we could go out and talk to them and get approval to come out on site, on that business site, and do a fundraiser, raise money tell them from what we're doing and why we're doing it and what we're doing it for. And they gave us approval to do that. Then we went. It didn't matter whether it was Saturday, Sunday, 4th of July, or Christmas, or Thanksgiving, New Year, whatever. And it was a weekend, and we had to had permission to do a fundraiser. We did that fundraiser. Oh Lord, we thank you for giving us the vision and the desire to take on the project to recognize the contribution and sacrifices made by the infantry Buffalo Soldiers in the defense of this nation, for paving the way for us, so many of us, for putting their life on the line to preserve our way of life as we know it. Lord, we are forever grateful for the many sacrifices made by the infantry Buffalo Soldiers. Lord, we thank you for the surrounding community for their continued support in erecting this monument to honor infantry Buffalo Soldiers.
I'm here today to just express my support, not just because of my grandfather, but just in general for the contribution that you all played in making us the country that we are today, that we have the freedom of, and freedom is not free.
And change has come to Columbus and Fort Benning, Georgia. The 24th and the 25th Infantry Buffalo Soldiers' sacrifices and accomplishments will no longer be camouflaged and concealed from the public eye by a 74-year-old oversight, because God is good. And it's about time that the U.S. Army's first black warriors be recognized and honored for their sacrifices, accomplishments, and contributions they made to the United States of America way of life. And eventually, we obtained enough money to purchase the plot, which was $3,000. After we purchased the plot, we had a groundbreaking ceremony on 12 February 2016. And at that time, we stated that we will erect the monument in February 2017, putting pressure on ourselves. Then on the 16th of February, we had a double ceremony. We had the dedication ceremony inside the National Infantry Museum, and then after that was completed, we had the unveiling of the Infantry Buffalo Soldier Monument on the Walk of Honor.
Ready! On! Bam!
We had people to come from all over the world to witness the historical event. And the best thing about it is when I'm dead and the rest of the first five is dead, the monument still will stand. Ours here for the 24th and the 25th Infantry Regiment is the only one that's known to be erected directly for the infantry in the United States.
This means a lot to me. This is some more history this is American history that the American people should know that they've been keeping suppressed for so long. They were probably the best soldiers fighting on the western frontier when this country was moving west. They fought renegades. They protected the Continental Railroads, the telegraph lines, the Pony Express. They built forts, and they fought the Native Americans, and they probably got more ridicule from the white people that they were protecting than they did from the Native Americans.
The infantry is not forgotten, all because of one man's vision. And as he said in his vision, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? He made it happen. The community as a whole made it happen. And soldiers near and far, civilians near and far, will all come to the National Infantry Museum one day and see the infantry buffalo soldier erected at the Walk of Honor.
So now, after 75 years of no recognition, the Buffalo Soldiers now have a spot on the Walk of Fame.
First Sergeant Snell and the members of the Global Association of Buffalo Soldiers Recognition and Riding Club were proud of their accomplishment on February 16, 2017. However, their hearts became heavy with a blanket of sadness and guilt because they did not recognize the only documented female infantry soldier who served in the United States Regular Army Infantry in a Buffalo Soldier unit. Private Kathy marched 536 miles with a 30 to 50 pound backpack and rifle, averaging 30 miles a day, swam across the Rio Grande River, and proved that she could shoot just as good or better than most male soldiers. She earned her place in the United States Regular Army history and deserves the right to be recognized for her contributions to the American way of life. Today, February 16, 2018, by erecting and unveiling this Private Kathy William Monument bench on the Walk of Honor at the National Infantry Museum, it will uncover the hidden history and reveal the fact that Private Kathy William paved the way for female soldiers to serve in the United States Regular Army Infantry today.
Cat Hay Williams, in a tiny shotgun cabin, Martha's baby girl was born.
Soldier that served in the Buffalo Soldier Unit and the United States Regular Army from November 15, 1866 to October 14, 1868. About 82 years before females was authorized to serve in the United States Regular Army. We also gathered here today to recognize all females that have served in all branches of the military, not just the Army.
A baby born to slavery that no one could forewarn. Cat Hay Williams was determined and never was deterred. As she began her life as a house girl, being seen but never heard.
So one day, a rider came. The Yankees are coming! The Yankees are coming! The Yankees are coming! What is a Yankee? And why is he so terrified?
Then the Civil War broke out, and the Union soldiers came, and taking Cat Hay with them, her life would never be the same. Then the Civil War was ended, and Cat Hay was finally free. In seeking out her freedom, she found her place in history. Her own way she needed to make, and a burden to no one be, so as a Buffalo soldier she joined up in the 38th U.S. Infantry. Cat Hay Williams became William Cat Hay, and no one was to know the secret of her identity. As a soldier, she did grow.
But Kathy Williams, what a special person. When I first heard of her, the word determination certainly characterized all that she did. Born a slave, served as a cook for an infantry unit. She saw firsthand what it meant to be an infantry soldier. Then after the Civil War, she volunteers and joined.
After 2 years as a soldier in the 38th Company A, William went to see the doctor, and her secret came out that day. Discharged as a Buffalo soldier, Cat Hay did her very best as she continued to make her way in this land they called the West. Because of her illegal enlistment, her pension passed her by, but she picked herself up and moved on, and never questioned why.
Unveiling ceremony of Private Cat Hay Williams Monument on the Walk of Honor at the National Infantry Museum. To all who shall see these greetings, effective 16 February 2018, the Global Association of Buffalo Soldier Recognition and Riding Club Incorporated recognized the first and only documented female infantry soldier who served in the United States Regular Army Infantry as a Buffalo soldier.
Life ended for Cat Hay Williams at the age of 82. She lived a long, independent life, a life that was tried but true. A salute to Cat Hay Williams, the hero of this rhyme, a special woman of the West, a legend in her time.